Hello everyone, I'm Rick Janzen. Welcome to my fly bench. Well, ice off is coming soon to the interior of BC. That's when the water warms first on the edges of the lake and begins to thaw and work its way in toward the middle. It's a very eagerly anticipated season for fly anglers like us because it's the first open water of the season. And the trout look forward to it too. I imagine it's like the call out to everyone, breakfast is ready. I imagine for the trout it's like the smell of coffee and bacon is to us. Big items are on the menu, dragonfly nymphs and leeches. Leeches make a very popular pattern whether you hang them under an indicator or strip them in on a leader and a floating line. The leech pattern I have for you today is a combination of three very popular leeches, all of which I've fished. The egg-sucking leech, Brian Chan's ruby-eyed leech, and Phil Rowley's bruised balanced leech. I wanted to come up with a balanced leech that had the ruby eye or the egg-sucking aspect to it, and I think I've succeeded. This pattern should be very successful whether you hang it under an indicator or strip it in. So let's take a look at the materials you're going to need to tie the combo leech. Okay folks, into my vise I have a Mustad 32 760 in size 8, the jig hook. You can tie these in size 10 as well, even up to 6. If I'd go for smaller than 10, if 12s and 14s I tie a different pattern altogether. I use the tungsten slotted bead on a smaller jig hook. Okay, so I've prepared some pin heads with the beads ahead of time. Now I've prepared like half a dozen of these before I start tying, and what I've added to that is a few coils of lead wire to help balance the jig. Now we're not going to need the whole length of the pin here. We're going to have to cut that off with side cutters. So for measuring on length, what I do is I hold the pin up against the hook, and I want that head of the pin to come to about the bend of the hook. When I've got that properly measured there, I'll take a pair of side cutters or the side cutters of my pliers, and I'll cut that off to length. And now that I've got that pin cut, I will now get my thread onto the hook using my 6/0 black tying thread. We'll lay down a base of thread here and get the hook prepared to receive the extension that we've just made. So there is a bit of that preparation ahead of time. Doesn't take terrible long, not that much of a fuss, and certainly well worth it when you get a nice balanced leech pattern like this to work under an indicator. Now what I'll do is I'll hold that pin up and I'll give it at least all those coils of lead between the jig and the bead, plus a little bit more. And I'll start to secure that in place up to the bend of the hook and then work my way back. And we've got that secured in there. It provides that nice extension. Now be careful at the cutoff point of your pin, because that's a serrated edge there and you don't want to rub your thread against that and have it snap off on you. So then I go behind it, giving it some room. I can feel that's well secured in place, no troubles there. And so we're going to go back to the bend of the hook to tie in our tail. Now in the tail, I like a mixture of red zonker strip. This has got red with black tips. I really like the look of this material. and we're going to add that 2 layers, this and then the black. So get that red cut off of the zonker strip, put it in there. These zonker strips are an important part of this fly as they provide a little volume at the tail of the fly, as a leech has a very rapid taper at the tip. It doesn't taper slowly, and so you want some bulk back there, and that's what the rabbit zonker strips do for this fly. They add that, not only the color, but the volume you need back there to give it that quick taper. Now I'm going to get some black zonker strip rabbit hair in there to top off the red. I just got to make sure I've got a piece that's long enough. I'm going up the strip a little bit to make sure I get a piece that's long enough to complement the red that I've got in there. So there we go. We're going to get that tied right on top. And there we have those 2 colors. I love that red and black mixture in a leech pattern. And again, it comes up in our dubbing right here. I've got a 1/3 blend each of ice dub in black, brown, and red. And that's how I create the mixture I want to give that mottled look to a leech. We're going to bring our thread up, partway up the hook, up into the pin, because we're going to form a dubbing loop. And we're going to make a fairly long one, 4 inches or even a little more. We want it good and long to be able to do the fly in one go. So we're going to close that dubbing loop and then bring our thread back toward the tail, closing that dubbing loop up there, and then our thread comes right back now to the front, in front of the jig bend and to the bead. There we go. We secure that up there just over the lead. Now we want a shaggy. This is long fiber dubbing, so we want a good shaggy look to this, and we're going to enhance that shagginess with the dubbing brush after we've formed our dubbing loop noodle and wrapped it on the hook. So a good amount of this shaggy dubbing creates our noodle. We don't stint on it there. We've made this color for the purpose, and we want to give the trout a big mouthful. They're looking for a big breakfast, like the logger's breakfast at the Ideal Cafe. And so they want everything. The full meal deal works. Might as well give it to them. They're hungry, long winter, slim pickings, and now the water's opening up and big items are on the menu, and it's time to stock up and make up for the harsh dearth of winter. Now we'll start to wind that dubbing noodle up. We've got our nice shaggy materials in there in the blend, and we don't care how long they are. If there are any that are too long, we'll certainly give them a haircut and trim them once the fly is formed. I'm just massaging some of that material into place so I get a nice even noodle. And once we got our noodle formed, we start wrapping it on the shank of the hook. And as we do so, excuse me, I like to brush those dubbing fibers back, and because we're going to orient them toward the rear of the hook anyway. Once we finish the fly, we want them streaming back, creating that body of the leech that will breathe and pulse and move and create that illusion of life that's so attractive to fish when it comes to looking for prey. So there we go. We're coming up to the jig bend there and pulling that back. We give it a nice bushy appearance, a thick, robust body to this fly, and we can, right here at the head, we can just jam it right in there behind the bead. We can fill that right in. We don't have to be stinting on our materials there. So now we're going to tie that in, give that a few solid wraps there, and some in front and some behind. We've got our cut off our dubbing loop, pushing our thread back out of the way, and we'll massage some of those materials back. We're going to give it a couple of wraps there and then give it a touch of brushable super glue up here. Get those fibers off of there and let that drip down into the wraps. Wrap that in there securely, and then we'll finish off with the whip finish. Give it 4 solid wraps. I love the peak, that orange just peeking out there like the egg-sucking leech, but just evoking that enticing image for the trout. Then taking our homemade dubbing brush made out of hook Velcro and a craft stick, we're going to brush this dubbing material back. Give it that shaggy appearance we mentioned. We want to shag this baby out. And anything that's recalcitrant and too long, it can easily be given a haircut. But before we do that, we want to make sure we've taken the memory out of these fibers, and we're going to give this a dip, an experimental dip. So now, having brushed it out to some degree, I'll put my hackle pliers on the jig head there and release the hook from the vise. I'm going to dip it in a glass of water that I've heated in the microwave. Excuse me. We're going to take the memory, all those crinkly memories out of that dubbing. As you can see, it's starting to straighten out there. And again, the fibers are quite long, but we'll do some massaging and a little bit of trimming. And we're just going to massage those back, put it back in the vise. And anything that is way too long, we'll just give that a little bit of a tapered snip. And anything that's errant sticking up above the hook. Excuse me. There you've got the combo leech. Draws together the best elements, I think, of Brian's ruby-eyed leech, Phil's balanced bruised leech, and the egg-sucking leech. It's gotten a nice mottled colors of the red, the black, and the brown in there. The bead heads at the front, which balance it. This is a beautiful fly. I can't wait to hang it under an indicator or strip it in on a line and leader. I think it's going to do wonders for you. Those trout take these things viciously because they're hungry and they're eager to take. So I'm wishing you tight lines and good luck. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. You can also like it and share it with your friends. Good luck, everybody. Thanks for watching.